Our Soul Matters theme this month is living love through the practice of joy. So like I do most every month, I met with a group of local UU Revs over Zoom last week. We get together and share the joys and the challenges of this very unique job we all have. So our facilitator last week, their congregation used the same materials that we do, so joy is the theme for them too. And they asked us to look around the room, just the room we were standing in, and find a source of joy. Can you do that? Can you look around the room and find something that gives you joy? I see you doing it. So what I did was, I typed BRB in the chat, and I ran across the room, and I grabbed something. And when I came back, their faces lit up. And mine did too. I hope some of yours did. Just now, I love bubbles. I will take any excuse I can to blow bubbles. Truly, for some reason, these bring me joy. They always have, which people accepted that when I was a little kid, right? We expect kids to blow bubbles, to put pretty rocks in their pockets, to do things not because they're productive, but because they're joyful. But when I was still blowing bubbles in high school, well, being kind of weird was sort of accepted in Portland in the 1990s. But I never gave up blowing bubbles, or glitter, or coloring with crayons. When I'm outside, I take time to notice the colors, the sounds, the smells. I show up with my senses and my body to experience the world, and I am rewarded with joy. When it's raining and the sun is shining, I turn my back to the sun and I look for that rainbow. If I keep my eyes on the tree moss, sometimes there are impossibly tiny little white mushrooms growing there. When I smell Daphne on the breeze, I follow my nose to that bush and I take a big, deep whiff. I've learned the sound of hummingbird wings. And so if I hear that noise, I stop what I'm doing and I look for that tiny being that I know is darting somewhere nearby. When I'm outside at night, I look up for the moon and the stars. Often, I greet them all, the rainbow, the mushroom, the bird, the moon, with an exclamation of, "Hello, gorgeous." I'm sure that's been funny to some people who've been passing me on the street, but I don't care. I've refused to leave joy behind in childhood, despite all the messages we get about trading in childish things for the serious business of adulthood. I was gonna wear fancy lady shoes this morning, but they hurt my feet. So I put on my sparkly rain boots instead. Beware of any social norms that cut you off from your joy, my friends, because I suspect they also cut you off from not only the essence of your humanity, but also a source of your own power to transform your life and the world. Paradoxically, as we've heard already this morning, joy can coexist with hardship, challenge, grief. I remember the first place I found this idea in a book, The Left Hand of Darkness, by Ursula Le Guin, where the main character, Genly, must travel by foot across a glacier in the middle of winter with only the food and gear he and his companion can pull on their sledge, and they're fleeing from a prison camp. And yet he says explicitly that he finds joy in the journey. I kept returning to that idea because I didn't quite understand it. How had he found joy fleeing for his life across the ice? Our Bhangra teacher, Grudeep explains in his essay, Waiting for the Perfect Time Robs Us of the Present Joy, quote, "True joy emerges during the journey itself, particularly in those challenging moments of struggle. When you develop the ability to maintain a joyful spirit during life's most demanding phases, you cultivate a form of happiness that remains steadfast throughout your life." Pandey continues, "I speak from personal experience. During the peak of my personal struggles, I mistakenly believed I needed to postpone joy until after those troubles had passed. However, as my challenges persisted, I found myself sinking deeper into misery. A turning point came when I realized the foolishness of waiting for better times before actively seeking joy. When I first experienced genuine joy after many years, my troubles hadn't magically disappeared, but I had discovered joy despite them. This newfound joy sparked hope within me, which in turn fostered positivity, ultimately helping me find solutions to my challenges. Within the next 3 years, I had successfully navigated through my difficulties. The crucial lesson here is that I chose to embrace joy before my troubles had resolved themselves." End quote. So, Pandey tells us we need not wait till we're happy to look for joy. And in fact, many of us discovered him through the Bhangra dancing videos he shared over YouTube from his cabin in the Yukon during pandemic lockdowns. He found that he could have joy through his troubles, and he tried to help others find that joy during a time of collective trauma for the whole world. Like the bubbles I blew earlier, when Pandey found his joy, it then expanded outward and touched others. There is a connection here between community and joy. I spoke earlier about Jenly from the left hand of darkness, who found joy in a journey of hunger, exhaustion, and frostbite across a glacier. In the story, as he crosses the ice, Jenly is also coming to know his traveling companion, an acquaintance who felt responsible for Jenly's captivity and rescued him from prison with their only escape through the very heart of winter. Jenly's joy comes in part from the deep connections he builds with his companion as they work together to survive in impossible conditions. When we embrace our interdependence and invest in building our connections with our fellow travelers on this journey of life, we tap into a wellspring of joy that defies the storms that rage around us. As sociologists of religion have commented since the field was invented by Emil Durkheim, something happens when we come together to dance and sing and engage in ritual. Durkheim called it collective effervescence. I experience that with you here on Sunday mornings, a bubbling up of joy as we breathe together, as we light our candles, as we drop stones into water, as we sing. When we worship together, we practice joy, and that is the reason why coming to church is so important to get us through these hard times. It's why religious communities are often some of the most resilient institutions in the face of fascism and oppression, because like Jenly and his companion, we pull together to make joy, even in the bitterest of winters. And as the earth teaches us, as we witness on this glorious day, spring always comes again. Ross Gay writes, "What if joy and pain are fundamentally tangled up with one another? Or even more to the point, what if joy is not only entangled with pain, suffering, and sorrow, but what if it's also what emerges from how we care for each other through all of those things? What if joy, instead of refuge or relief from heartbreak, is what effervesces from us as we help each other carry our heartbreaks? End quote. The group of UU ministers I blew bubbles for the other day came together through our mutual relationship with and participation in the UU Ministers Association, UUMA, whose tagline is, "Because we need each other." This phrase isn't just for ministers, beloveds. We are here because we need each other. We need each other so very much right now. I need you. And I need you to practice joy, even as the events of the wider world give you cause every day for fear and despair. When we are scared, we often stay small, stay silent, stay within what is expected of us, what is familiar, what feels safe. But when we experience joy, we expand. Like those bubbles, we effervesce, and the joy takes up space, and it begins to wedge out that despair, that hopelessness. Joy not only grows from how we hold each other in our heartbreak, it gives us something to fight for and something to fight with in the midst of that heartbreak. Our joy makes the spring come. But when it is so easy to get bogged down in the fire hose of bad news that is always coming at us through the phone, television, computer, we really do have to practice to cultivate joy. What has brought you joy throughout your life? What did that little child you just love to do that you put aside for the serious matters of adulthood? What can you do to bring those joyful experiences back into your life right now? Well, start by paying attention. Shake loose of your thoughts and use your senses, trying to notice the things that you know bring you joy in the world around you. Don't wait to use the nice china or the fancy soap. Lean into the relationships that offer balm for your heartbreak. And as you do, please remember, this is not frivolous. This is not childish. As Mandy M. says, it is you becoming a living antidote to the suffering of the world. This is serious business. The world doesn't give us joy. We have to practice. We have to pay attention. But when we do, that joy can never be taken away. And it fuels us to fight for the world we dream about, where love is truly at the center. May it be so. May we be the ones who make it so. And let us make it so through the practice of joy.